Hello, it's James and I'm back in my new shop again. I thought today I would do a little bit of an update. As you can see from my main bench, I got most of my tools back from the other shop and none of them have a home yet. So I was going to go over a few of the plans. Sorry for that noise, my dog is chewing a bone happily on the floor. I was going to go over some of the plans that I have to find homes for all of this stuff. Mostly clamps are on the bench right now. So I'm going to be doing some clamp storage. And I've looked at a lot of YouTube videos to see how other people were doing it. And I have kind of a modified version of what I want to do. And I'll grab the camera and hand hold it and take you around and show you what I mean to do. Okay, well, like I said, I have to find at least homes for all these clamps. And as you might remember from my old shop, I used to mount them in PVC tubes that I hung from the lower part of the ceiling. Here's the rigs. Say good morning. Oh well. I used to have all these tubes mounted on the ceiling, and I would slide the clamps into the tubes. But since then I've gotten a few more clamps, and sorry for all the wiggling. I don't have a low space in the ceiling or near the ceiling where I could hang them and reach them effectively. So what I plan to do is, I got started on it before I decided to make the video. I'll come around the other side. I got my stereo installed finally. I have to staple the wires back up. If you remember from an earlier video, this lumber storage I had extended across this whole wall and took up all the space. So what I did in the last day or two was I removed the lower section. I don't need all that clamps or all that wood storage, since I do have a wood shed next to the shop. So I mounted a 4x8 sheet of plywood on the wall. And if you remember from my old shop, I kind of like the grizzly green. Most of my tools are grizzly. You can see I've accented some of the things in the grizzly green. So I painted this grizzly green, and I'm going to start mounting clamps and other tools right to the plywood. I had to make cutouts for the temperature control for the ceiling heaters, and there was a receptacle I didn't want to lose, so I had to cut those out. And I'll space the tools around them. But I'm going to start with my Bessie clamps, and I have 4 of them, and I've never had a huge need to do a lot of panel glue up, so I don't think I'll be getting any more Bessie clamps. But what I did is I made a clamp holder that I can mount right to the plywood, and the Bessie clamps will hang this like this. And I'll do similar kinds of things with the F clamps and the pipe clamps and the hand grip clamps. I may, for all these spring-loaded clamps I have, I may just glue up a piece of masonite and mount it, and then just attach the clamps to that. But I will update you as we go here. So I'm going to start with the Bessie clamps, get those mounted, and I'll probably paint all the mounting brackets that I make. And we'll see how we end up. So the first step in making these brackets was pretty basic. I just measured the width of the Bessie bar clamp, the bar part of it, and spaced them out on this piece of 3/4 plywood. Drilled a hole at the back, a rounded hole, and then cut out the rest with a bandsaw. So now I'm going to just drill the mounting holes in and countersink them. So this is just pretty basic. Just a couple of mounting holes will do, maybe 3, and we'll go from there. And then on my little drill press, I'll just kind of countersink the hole a little bit. So, and then the screws I'm going to be using drywall screws so they will flush mount. If you stay tuned to a future episode, I'm going to be building tables for both the small and the bigger drill presses. That'll be a nice fun project. I think you'll enjoy that. So let's get this mounted up. So I'm going to try to have fairly effective use of space on this new piece of plywood, but where I can get to everything that I need to get to conveniently. So I'm going to start here. And make sure everything's level. And that should be good here. And then we'll see how the clamps fit. So that should be a good start on getting the clamps mounted, and I will start moving them across and updating you as I go. Okay, well, it's a little while later, and I made these brackets to hold my pipe clamps. It's just 3/4 plywood that's glued and pin nailed to the back piece and then screwed on. And then I put this long one up with a piece of 1/4 inch plywood, and that's going to go for all my spring clamps and a few miscellaneous clamps. So we're getting there. It's starting to look good. Now I'm trying to hang my F clamps, and I have 16 of them, so I took a piece of plywood and measured out 18 slots, drilled a 5/16 hole at the end, and now I'm just using the bandsaw to cut out the rest of the grooves. And then when I mount this on the board, the clamps will fit roughly like this. So what I think I'm going to do is cut little relief chamfers in the beginning so that it'll be easier to slide them in. I won't have to be so dead on. So I will mark those out and come back and cut those. Now we'll do a little bit of sanding and mount the bottom piece that screws into the board, and we'll try it out. Well, it's a little while later. I have gone through and made some decisions as to placement and what I wanted where. So I think last I left off, I was making this F-clamp holder, which seems to work pretty well. I left a few extra spaces because I think I have more clamps that I just can't find. I'm throwing all the little ones up there for now, but this section seemed to work well using dowels instead of plywood to hang these clamps. And then I came back to get the rest of my Bessie equipment and got the corner clamp pair up on the wall, and then the framing clamps down here at the bottom. Now that leaves me just enough room along the bottom here, I think, to put the rest of my clamps, these gosh, what do you call them? These wooden clamps. I'm going to mount to the bottom of the board. And then basically my bench will be much cleaner than it was. I'll be able to start building storage for all of the tools that are now just kind of laying haphazardly all over the place. Sorry to move so fast. I'm going to probably get to work back here first, because I have tubs full of hand tools and no place to put them. So that's the update on the clamp board, and I'll come back and finish that up when I get the bottom clamps mounted. Okay, I've been experimenting with how best to mount these clamps onto my board, and I think I've just come up with something very simple. I'm going to mount a piece of wood like this, and then I only have 2 of each size clamp, so they will hang somewhat like that, and that way I don't have to be too concerned about adjusting the width of the clamp every time I go to put it away. So what I'll be doing is taking these blocks of wood, and I'll probably run a bevel around the front. Then we'll countersink a bigger hole so that I can get a 2-inch screw to actually mount it to the wall. So some of these pieces are going to be 4 inches long, and there's no 5-inch drywall screws. So I will get this set up and we'll start that process. So I'm going to use my little router table. Sometime in the future I'm going to build as a project, and I'll video it, a router table extension onto my table saw wing. But for now, this has been working out fine for me. I don't do a whole lot of router work right this moment, but we'll do probably more of that in the future. So I've got this set up just to do a little bit of a bevel, and I'm just going to bevel these 4 sides, keeping my fingers well away. So. Well, that's close enough for what I want. Now we're going to go countersink a hole so that I can put a screw in that starts holding from here on down. So we'll use a Forstner bit over at the drill press. So I have this set up so that it will only cut down to there, and that way the screw will go into the board and hold it. But in order to do this, I'm going to need a little more gription. Gription, is that a word? So we will do this process. then later, after I've done all 4 of these, I have a long drill bit that I'll easily be able to drill all the way through all of these. And I'll come back for that step. Okay, as you can see, I have a longer drill bit mounted, and I'm going to find the center of the hole I previously drilled and just go all the way through. So that's what we'll use to mount these, and I'll be back for that part. So that's sort of the finished placement of the wooden clamps. What I like about it is if I don't like the arrangement or think of a better way to store them, I can just pull out one screw and remount them someplace else. But right now, that is the way I'm going to keep the board. We'll work with it, maybe possibly add to it, but at least see how this works. Because I don't foresee getting many more clamps in the future. So, and if that changes, you'll be the second to know. Well, that's all for now. This has just been my idea as to how to store clamps efficiently. So, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. The comments have been wonderful since I moved into the new shop. And please know that there'll be much more projects coming soon. The drill press table, the router table wing for the table saw, and lots of little projects in between. So thank you so much for watching, and come back soon. Bye.